Hi everyone, welcome into the Mercer County Football Show here on WBCB1490.com alongside the Trentonian George O'Gorman, Mike Samsel with you for another week recapping Mercer County football here on the WBCB Sports Network. And George, I think the story from last week, two teams that you and I both thought really needed statement wins had them, and that was Trenton and Rancocas Valley.
Forget about Lawrence.
Lawrence as well, yeah.
That
Lawrence
was probably
had a great
the biggest.
win.
That was the biggest statement win of all. Was Lawrence, what they did, and Samai Mitchell, who was honored as the offensive back of the week from the 12th man TD club. He had over 200 yards rushing. I believe he had 140 some yards receiving, 5 touchdowns. That was a statement win because Burlington Township was undefeated. Yeah. And for Rob Radis' Lawrence Cardinals to go down there and knock off a very, very good, always good Burlington Township team, kudos to the Cardinals for what they did. Now they're back in Mercer County this week to host Ewing, or to play at Ewing Friday night. And a chance for the Cardinals if they're not looking ahead, and there's no reason they should be, because they got a lot to prove this year. At least they feel they do. That's a big, in my opinion, that was the biggest statement win of all. Rancocas Valley's win over Notre Dame. I mean, it's a tight ball game until the last minute of the first half. Mm-hmm. As you well remember, they had a touchdown, drove long, they get a touchdown, and then came right back and got an interception, one of 5 that Rob McCoven threw in that game. And that was pretty much, did the number on Notre Dame, and they really didn't play well in the second half at all. And, Rancocas Valley is a very good ball club, and, you don't want to look too far ahead, but it's probable that Rancocas Valley, which is now 2-0 in the Colonial Division of the West Jersey Lake, and Trenton, which is also 2-0 after its big win over West Windsor North, are headed for a showdown next month in Holly. That's the big thing. Trenton's win was, I don't know how much of a statement it was. I mean, they beat up on a gallant West Windsor North team, which really doesn't have enough weapons. Mm-hmm. The quarterback throws well, right. And he's got some decent receivers, but Trenton just overpowered him.
Well, the reason I brought that up as a statement win is just, the way I think about it. That was a good time for Trenton because possibly a big win, feeling very good about themselves, maybe come down and let up a little bit the next week. They didn't let up at all. They came out and really handled that West Windsor Plainsboro North team. So that's why I was kind of looking at that as a statement win, because they really came out and did what good, talented teams do.
What they were expected to do. I mean, you go back over the years, how many times was Trenton expected to win a game and either struggled or got beat? Mm-hmm. Here, under Tariq Holman, I mean, this is a totally different ball club. And as Chris Casamento, the coach at West Windsor North, said, everybody in the CVC knew if Trenton got some discipline and, and they really didn't beat themselves, they were always a tough team to handle. And that's what Trenton did. I mean, Tremaine Nieves, over 180-some yards. Mm-hmm. Ryan Wharton, over 100 yards. They only threw one pass, and that was a touchdown. Yeah. That's, they're good. And they got Steinert this week, and Steinert trying to rebound after its loss to Klockner Road rival Nottingham on Saturday. Trenton's got to be a favorite in that game. I'd say by at least a touchdown. Yeah. But Tornadoes are on a roll now, and if they don't beat themselves, they can continue on this roll for a while.
The Mercer County Football Show is presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton, and also the Trentonian. For the latest scores and updates, check them out online at Trentonian.com. George and I have to step aside and take our first time out of the show. When we come back here on WBCB1490.com, we'll recap the week that was in Mercer County. You're watching the Mercer County Football Show here on WBCB1490.com.
I'm Jerry Jablonowski, President and Chief Executive Officer of St. Francis Medical Center. For over 137 years, St. Francis has remained committed to the people of Trenton, living out our mission to be a transforming, healing presence in the communities we serve by delivering top-quality health care to all in a personal and compassionate manner. We have continually expanded our services to meet the changing healthcare needs of our city. Despite the hospital changes taking place in Trenton, St. Francis will continue to be here, providing all the residents of Trenton with access to top-quality health care, both at our hospital and within your communities where you live and work. Our renowned services in cardiac care, cancer treatment, and stroke care In addition to our newly designed comprehensive care of chronic diseases, we'll continue to provide Trenton with the best in healthcare services. Our emergency room is always open for your immediate needs in times of medical crisis. St. Francis Medical Center. We'll be here so you'll be well.
Welcome back to the Mercer County Football Show here on WBCB1490.com. That's George. I'm Mike back here with you for another week. Don't forget today's show presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton, and also by the Trentonian. Check them out online 24/7 at Trentonian.com. Taking a look at some of the results last week throughout Mercer County. Holy Cross beat up on Ewing by a final of 33-6. Cinnaminson Robbinsville ended up in a 46-18 final in favor of Cinnaminson. Florence 21, Palmyra 7, Burlington City 20, and New Egypt 5. But in those first couple of games for Robbinsville and Ewing, it was a bit of a tough week.
And it doesn't get any easier.
No.
You know, the way the schedule works out, you've got Ewing now, after winning at home against Pemberton in their opener, has now dropped the last two games, and now they go home and they host unbeaten Lawrence Friday night. And Robbinsville, after getting its first win 2 weeks ago over Burlington City, got handled by Cinnaminson. And where do they go now? They go down to play Florence on Saturday. Once beaten Florence. So, it's tough. We're getting down to the midpoint of the season. We're through September and heading into the first weekend in October. And there's some interesting games. And probably one of the more interesting games, I think, is a team that, despite its 4-0 record or 3-0 record, and the fact it's averaging over 40 points a game, is Dave Caldwell's Hopewell Valley Bulldogs.
Yeah.
I mean, they're home to face a very good Allentown team. Jay Graber's club, with its only loss coming out in Utah 2 weeks ago, that's going to be a major test for Hopewell Valley. But, they've got a lot of weapons. And, the biggest weapon of all, of course, is Andrew. Well, I can't say the biggest weapon of all, but Andrew Yuska, who is leading the Mercer County CVC in rushing, 441 yards. He got a 10.2 average per Gary. And he scored 9 touchdowns. He had another huge game the other day in their shutout win over Hightstown. Andrew Yuska ran for 206 yards and 4 touchdowns in that game. And, of course, Austin Fellows, the quarterback, I mean, he's just near perfect as far as, what he's been able to do with the ball. Got some stats on Austin Fellows. He's, let me see, he's thrown 57 passes, completed 28 of them for 6 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty impressive stuff. Mike Giles, who was honored by the TD Club this past week also, he had, in that win over Hightstown, I believe he had 3 receptions for 115 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is a high-powered offense, and, Dave Caldwell's done an outstanding job continually at Hopewell Valley since he started that program back about 8-9 years ago. The addition of Todd Smith as their offensive coordinator, after what he was able to accomplish over at West Windsor Plainsboro South in his 7 years, has really, added huge things to this Hopewell Valley offense, and they're playing great defense as well. And as I said, this is a big game for Hopewell Valley as they host an Allentown team that, Allentown has played tough football. Allentown had an impressive win the other day, 20-10 over Hamilton. And as we said, Jay Graber's club has done an outstanding job. And Davion Thomas is one of the leading rushers in the CVC. He's got 146 yards and 26 carries. And Dean Apostolico, the quarterback, he's got 4 rushing touchdowns already and 177 yards rushing. I mean, this is a team with a lot of weapons. And as Jay Graber said, and we mentioned this previously, these kids don't want to be known that this is a rebuilding year because of all the people that Allentown graduated. They want to feel that they're good enough just to step in and continue that winning tradition. And so far, they're 3-0 against teams from Mercer County area.
Trenton 40, West Windsor, Plainsboro North 7. We already talked about Rancocas Valley 36-14 over Notre Dame. West Windsor, Plainsboro South gets their first touchdown and their first victory of the year, 27-14 over Princeton. Lawrence 26, Burlington Township 21. Already talked about that. Hopewell Valley 42-0 over Heightstown. Heightstown has to rebound with Notre Dame coming in on Friday night.
That's an interesting matchup. What we knew of as one of the leading quarterbacks, especially coming into this season, was Dustin Coleman, starting his third year at quarterback for the Heightstown Rams. But he's become more of a rusher. He's got 293 yards on 40 carries, 2 touchdowns. So he hasn't really been throwing the ball that much, but they've been using his weapons as an excellent runner. Big matchup for Pete Brescia, who formerly was a quarterback under Chappie Moore at Notre Dame back about 15 years ago. Now Pete Brescia has a chance, to really send a message. Heightstown played Notre Dame pretty good the last time the teams met over there at, Dave McIntyre Stadium. Now they got the new turf. We'll see. But, Notre Dame, if it weren't for all the mistakes that Notre Dame made last week, and as we said, it was a close game, tied 7-7 till a minute to go in the first half, and Rancocas Valley, I think, ended up scoring like
15 points in less than a minute.
Probably less than 20 seconds.
Yeah,
I think they scored one with 19 seconds, and the next one came with 1 second to play. So that really just broke it right open. And then, as it was in the third quarter, Robert Coven threw another interception. I think he had a couple in that second half. But that was a big win for Skip Edwards and West Windsor South. It doesn't get any easier because this Friday night, they go down to play Northern Burlington.
Yeah.
And but in that game, Chris Scanlon made one of the players of the week. I think it was on defense. He had like about 11 tackles, and he's another two-way performer. There's just everybody on that West Windsor South team is pretty much a two-way player.
Yeah.
But he had an outstanding game with 11 tackles. I think he might have had a couple of sacks, and they just really handled a Princeton team that you kind of feel bad for because they only had, I think they had about 24 kids to start the season, and injuries have taken a toll. In that game, you also had the defensive player of the week coming out of Princeton, and that was Liam Hellstrom, who had, let me see if I can see what his stats were. I know he had a touchdown. Oh, no, he didn't have a touchdown, but he had a couple of big catches. He had 7 receptions for 71 yards. He's one of 3 Hellstrom boys on that Princeton team. And they just don't have enough weapons on that team. And, Princeton now, they got another, every game for Princeton is tough. But, let me see, they play, or do they have the bye this week?
They're at Hamilton.
Oh, that's right,
Saturday.
they're at Hamilton Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock, late starts because of, I guess it's ETS testing. Steiner at Trenton at 2 o'clock, Robbinsville at Florence at 2 o'clock, Princeton at Hamilton at 2 o'clock. And Hamilton winless, that's a battle of the winless.
Yeah.
But it could be interesting because Tom Hoagland's team, they just haven't been able to put it together. They've stayed close with people. They were relatively close with Allentown, lost 20-10. You got to favor Hamilton in that game, especially being at home. I guess it's their second win because their second game at home, they opened up with a kind of a blowout loss back on, what was that, September the 12th, that Thursday when they played Hopewell Valley. But, there's a couple of nice matchups, and I don't know, Robbinsville at Florence, what can we say, Irving Fryer against the legend Joe Frapoli, and the Flashes.
May learn a lesson or two that game.
Yeah, well, I don't know how many lessons Irving Fryer can learn. When you don't have the horses, it's really tough to learn any lessons. But,
right.
But they handled Burlington City pretty well a couple of weeks ago, and then got beat by a good Cinnaminson ball club. I don't know what else. Like I said, there's some interesting matchups. The Trenton-Steinert game should not be, as we said, Trenton's probably at least a touchdown favorite. But again, you gotta focus on the mental attitude of the Tornadoes.
Yeah.
And as Tremaine Nieva said, hey, this kid's learned his lesson. He praised his offensive line, and that's a huge offensive line, as big as some lines you may see in small college football.
Sure.
And they open up big holes for him, and then they'll hit you with Ryan Wharton and his speed. Not that Tremaine Evans doesn't have speed.
Right, but it's a very tough one to punch.
You know, it's going to be tough with Steinert's improving defense, but I really don't see Steinert staying that close with the Tornadoes, especially Trenton being at home.
Allentown 20, Hamilton 10, and also Nottingham getting back on track 27-17 over Steiner. We'll step aside and take a quick time out here on the Mercer County Football Show. We'll come back and talk about the rest of the games throughout Bucks and through Mercer County and Burlington County here on WBCB1490.com. We'll be right back.
The Trentonian presents Philadelphia Eagles Football Frenzy. You could win the grand prize to see the Eagles play Dallas in Dallas on December 2nd. Get your copy of the Daily Trentonian to register. Enter between now and September 30th for your chance to win. Every Sunday, the Trentonian is giving out a $100 gift card, a 2-night hotel package for two with your choice of a regular season Eagles game, and on October 7th, the grand prize will be announced, a flyaway package to Dallas to see the Eagles take on the Cowboys December 2nd with 2-night hotel accommodations. For entry rules, check the Daily Trentonian and enter as often as you like in the Trentonian or online at Trentonian.com. It's the Philadelphia Football Frenzy from the Trentonian, the only local paper serving both Bucks and Mercer counties.
Welcome back to the Mercer County Football Show here on WBCB1490.com, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center and the Trentonian. Mike Samsel, George O'Gorman with you for our final segment, taking a look at the games around Mercer County. Lawrence takes on Ewing. Already talked about that matchup a little bit earlier on, as we did with Robbinsville and Florence. Steinert and Trenton should be an interesting game in the area. Always a close rivalry. And I think Steinert has been playing better this season than a lot of people expected.
You know, when you go back, you stop and think about it. Steinert's opening game was against Allentown.
Mm-hmm.
They played on, what was it, that Saturday, the first Saturday in September?
Yeah, September 7th.
September the 7th. And that was a close game with Allentown until the Redbirds kind of pulled away in the fourth quarter and won, I think it was like 28-7. Steiner came back 2 weeks later and did a pretty good job shutting out West Windsor South.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, they stayed with Nottingham. Got a big touchdown pass to Zandomenico. I think it was like 60-some yards in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Right after Nottingham had driven down and scored on their opening drive. Spartans came right back. And actually, all things considered, I thought that score was a little bit closer than I figured it might be.
Yeah.
But maybe the North Stars aren't as... well, we know that it wouldn't be as talented as last year.
Right.
But they maybe they're not really as... overpowering as everybody thought they were.
Yeah.
I think Trenton kind of did a number on them. It was close, but I think they're going to gain more momentum. And if the North Stars aren't focused, they could have trouble going into West Windsor North on I guess this will be the first home game at West Windsor North.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they've been on the road, and it doesn't get any easier for Chris Casamento. They opened up at Rancocas Valley, then they went to Hopewell Valley. Last week they were in Trenton. And now they come home to play Nottingham. And as we mentioned, their quarterback, Kevin Murphy, he's thrown for 754 yards. He's completed 41 of 86 passes, and he's thrown for a couple of touchdowns. He can heave the ball, and he's got some people that can receive it.
Yeah.
This is a ball club. Jack O'Connell, he had a touchdown pass the other day for West Windsor North. Jawan Harrison, he can catch the ball as well, and I think he had the other touchdown pass against Trenton. They're going to be, they should be a test for that secondary that the North Stars have, especially if Murphy can get some protection.
Absolutely, and we'd like to send our get well wishes out to Josh Lajeunesse, who had surgery last week on his leg, and it's unfortunately that his senior season appears to be over. So we send our speedy get well wishes to Josh Lajeunesse, great kid and a great football player as well. Sad to see him leave Mercer County in the way that he did. West Windsor Plainsboro South will be taking on Northern Burlington. Notre Dame will be at Hightstown. That's a game we'll have for you on the WBCB Sports Network starting at 6:45 with the Trentonian pregame show. George and I will be out at the brand new Hightstown field. Allentown at Hopewell Valley. Probably the game of the week this week.
I would think so. Hopewell Valley, as we mentioned previously, Dave Caldwell Ball Club, they're on their way to some very good things this year.
It's a good test for them to see where they're at.
Yeah, probably getting into the playoffs, which they haven't been able to do since they really started turning their program around. And I'm already looking forward to the Thanksgiving Day game between Hopewell Valley at Lawrence.
Yeah, that should be a very good
game
one.
that could be, especially if both of them get into the playoffs like it looks they probably will be, and get a first round win the week before, and that Thanksgiving game really could be quite a matchup. Maybe both teams, who knows, possibly headed for a matchup the next week for Central Jersey Group 3.
Yeah, we could very well see that. Excited to see that game, and also Princeton and Hamilton will wrap up the week in Mercer County. Battle of winless teams at Hamilton. Should be interesting to see what team should come out victorious. And that'll wrap it up for this week's edition of the Mercer County Football Show here on WBCB1490.com. Our thanks to Matt Miro, Bill Redner, Matt Osborne for helping us put this whole thing together. It should be another interesting football week, and Mercer County looks like they'll have their eyes turned to Hopewell Valley and Allentown this week, and we'll also be out at Notre Dame on Friday. For our entire broadcast schedule, be sure to check us out on twitter.com at WBCB Sports. Our coverage starts on the AM here at 5 o'clock with an hour-long edition of the High School Football Kickoff Show. For George O'Gorman, Mike Samsel wishing you a good week, and we'll see you Friday night over at Hightstown on 107.7 The Bronx. Take care, everyone.
Enjoy your football.